You're listening to Inside Content, the TV industry podcast. This show is brought to you by 3Vision, a global TV industry consultancy specialising in content acquisition, strategy, research and business development. Each episode, we give you VIP access to the views and experiences of senior TV executives and discuss the latest TV industry trends and insights.
Hello and welcome to Inside Content. I'm Jonathan Nickell, COO of 3Vision, and on this episode I'm joined by Sarah Milton and Carl Pfeiffer, Joint Chief Product Officers at Everyone TV. We discuss the evolution of free TV in the UK and the development of Freely. Freely is attempting to redefine how audiences access free-to-air content, particularly in a world where IP-only homes are on the rise. They share insights on how the platform has grown in its first year, the challenges of balancing live and on-demand content, and the role of personalisation and discovery in shaping the future of TV.
Good, so welcome to this episode of Inside Content. I'm joined today by Carl Pfeiffer and Sarah Milton, Joint Chief Product Officer at Everyone TV. Hi guys, nice to see you both.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yeah, hi Jonathan, good to see you.
Maybe we could start, you could explain how that joint role works. I'm wondering if you guys must be psychic or something.
Go on, you go first.
Not so psychic to know who else is Freely has been something that's been a huge project for Everyone TV over the last few years. So we like to think that fundamentally having more bang for your buck, more brains on the topic, particularly as the product and proposition is so crucial to its success, means that having the two of us is a really good thing. Clearly, we work really closely together on all things to do with product development and product strategy for Freely in particular, but also for Freeview Play and FreeSat, our other products. We're a bit psychic, but mostly lots of good comms between us, lots of making sure that we're across as much as we can be, while at the same time not doubling up on everything.
Yeah.
I think it's worked.
No, definitely. I mean, pragmatically speaking, we overlap on some days and we work other days separately. As Carl said, we divide up some of the work, but actually the real benefit of this has been the opportunity to kind of work together, solve problems together. And given that it's been a really
1 + 1 is 3 sort of solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I genuinely think that it's fantastic for us to have, each other as a sounding board, particularly as Carl says, as we've been developing Freely, but also hopefully the rest of the organisation also sees the benefit of having,
Great. Good. Well, look, so a lot of our listeners are sort of international, and so may not be as familiar with the UK TV market and with Freely particularly. So maybe you could just give us an overview of the product.
Sure. Should I just quickly give a bit of background on Everyone TV?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is it's a joint venture owned and backed by the 4 biggest broadcasters in the UK, so BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5. And they are all they're all public service broadcasters, so they have that public service remit. And our role is to basically champion free TV for all. And we do that through operating Freeview Play, FreeSat, and more recently Freely, which is the platform we launched in April last year. Overall, we're in over 15 million homes, so it makes us the largest TV platform in the UK. And as Carl's already mentioned, real focus for us right now is growing Freely.
Yeah, Freely launched, where are we now? February. So Freely launched last April. So we're actually approaching the first anniversary of Freely's launch in the UK. And it's the new way to watch free TV. It brings together the best of live TV and on-demand TV from the biggest national broadcasters in the country, the public service broadcasters principally, who are our shareholders, as Sarah said, but also other broadcasters that deliver free content. And it's really the next generation or the successor to the Freeview platform, which has done a great job in delivering free TV over an aerial to homes for many years. Freeview Play came along, which then brought on-demand streaming alongside that terrestrial live TV. And now with Freely, for the first time, whether you have an aerial or don't have an aerial, you can get that live and on-demand content all in one place in a way that feels like TV always has done. So it's particularly bringing live TV over the internet for the first time in a very familiar, easy to access way, and putting that alongside all the best on-demand content from UK broadcasters and making that really easily accessible to people who buy Freely TV. So you can connect just with Wi-Fi, you can plug an aerial in if you have one, but if you don't, you still get lots of great content, and you get it in a really, we think, although maybe we're a bit biased, but I think we're right, attractive, easy to use interface that actually is quite compelling and exciting for free TV audiences and people buying TVs in the UK.
Great, thank you for that. So thinking about the product itself, what sort of developments have you made for that product to make it unique? I saw there's an area called My List. I thought that's quite interesting. Maybe you could explain a bit about that and any other kind of features that that you've got or that you're developing and can talk about.
Sure. I mean, let's break it down. And first of all, what Freely is at the moment, and as Carl says, it's essentially bridging live TV and video on demand. So the different aspects of the Freely product offer something for everyone. So live TV, linear TV is absolutely front and center of the proposition. And so anyone that is coming in to watch live TV can find it really easily, can find all the channels in one place. And we've added really nice enhancements with what we call the mini guide, which is like a live TV overlay, and that gives viewers the ability to control their viewing. They can pause, they can restart, and it also provides a window into more content, so video on demand content, starting to bridge that gap between live and on demand. And we also have a section which we call Browse, which is an aggregated discovery area. So for audiences who are more sort of VOD first in their viewing, it's a really fantastic place. They can just get there by pressing the Freely remote control button and find and discover the breadth and depth of catalogues from all those free broadcasters that Carl was talking about in one place. And that's where we've started to add some personalisation in the form of My List. So when you are browsing and exploring all that amazing content, it's a really nice, easy way of collecting those shows that you already know you love, or shows that you like the sound of and you want to watch later. And again, all in one place, so really nice and easy for viewers.
I guess that's because it's a big challenge, isn't it? At the moment, there's so much content, and surfacing the right content for people, and making sure they can find what they want. The curation
that's sort of the direction of travel that we want to go as well, in terms of how we're going to develop it further, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, My List is really a first step into something that's your ability to personalise your experience with Freely, but there's lots more we'd love to do in that area, and we're thinking really hard about some of the innovations that we want to happen this year and into the future. So thinking about how you can personalise that content discovery experience, whether that's there's lots of different ways you can approach that based on your particular things you've interacted with or your taste profiles and so on. But we also want to develop in other ways too. I mean, Sarah talked about the mini guide, and it may sound like a sort of a small thing. Oh, that's something that just pops up on the screen and tells you what you're watching. But actually, there's the opportunity there for us to bridge the gap between live and on demand, and bring people who are maybe live first. Loads of people across the UK love watching linear television. They still go there first, and that audience, we want to make sure they're really well served with a great live experience, but also can find ways that are engaging to get them to easily discover more episodes of the same show or other on-demand items. And similarly, audiences might be on-demand first. How can we draw them into, make sure that live TV remains at the heart of the experience, that they can easily find live TV there if they want to watch it, and look at how we can do that through some of these features. And I think the linear TV experience, obviously, there's been a lot of innovation across lots of different UIs and different platforms and so on, and there's some great things happening. But probably linear TV has sort of maybe been sort of, overlooked a bit, particularly in the free space for a while, a bit commoditized. But actually, what we're here to, with the features that we're looking to develop around live as well as personalisation, is make sure that still feels a really exciting and interesting and engaging place for people to go discover content and have an enhanced experience of live TV.
Yeah. It's also crucially, it's a response to the trends that we're seeing in the market, which is a shift towards viewing online, and obviously a rapidly growing number of households who don't have an aerial or a satellite connection, who are IP only, to use the terminology that we use. I think it's a quarter of homes now in the UK are IP only homes, and we think it will be something around 2/3, in a decade or so. So that's an audience that without Freely, there's not a great live TV experience available to them. And so what we've done is make sure that those households are not actively rejecting live TV, but without it being front and center and a really good experience all in one place, there is a danger that they fall out of the habit. So yeah, Freely is a response to that.
Great, excellent. BVOD has had a really good year this year, and there's lots of good content coming from the big streamers. I guess and I'd be interested to hear one of the challenges is what to surface where. How do you guys make those decisions? How do you do that? Is there human curation? Is it AI? Is a mixture of things? How does that process work?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to get the AI klaxon sounded early on, I joke, but obviously, if we sort of thinking much more future facing, then there's loads actually genuinely there that we around machine learning and so on that we'd love to be able to do and hope to be able to do in the near future, and some of that personalisation stuff I talked about earlier. At the moment, the Freely browse experience, which is where we surface sort of on demand and hopefully soon some live recommendations too from our content partners, is editorially managed by our editorial team. But it's based very much it's done very much in collaboration with our broadcast partners. So understanding sort of their key priorities and ensuring that we can then reflect all the great stuff that's happening. And there's so much great stuff happening across PSB and UK free TV. So we've got that constant flow of here are the big new shows, and of course that's what the Freely browse experience is, and it's quite exciting to look at. Is there to showcase the many billions of pounds worth of new content commissions and acquisitions that are happening across the UK free-to-air landscape, being all sort of attractively showcased in one place. That's something really unique that the Freely browse area is able to do. So it's a mix of as I said, taking priorities from our key partners, working with them to make sure that we're showcasing them in the right way at the right time. We then have some specific themed rails that we curate as well, and sort of respond to sort of major events or major themes that are going across the calendar. But then increasingly we'll look at how we can bring personalisation into that. And now my list exists as a rail on the home screen, as Sarah was talking about, which allows users to start to sort of curate their own experiences as well. But it's exciting. I genuinely sort of love looking at the screen, because you realise just how much good stuff there is in the free space alone, and seeing that within the context, then yes, of the wider UIs on the device that are showcasing other things from other partners and so on. It's this little sort of it's a great complement to the broader kind of content ecosystem in which we sit.
Yeah, I think that's a model that most sort of video on demand services and aggregators have adopted, which is this mixed model. We used to call it smart curation when we were at Channel 4. But yeah, it's a whole mixture of things, and it's making sure that You're exposing, the big priorities, the new emerging shows that maybe haven't, the algorithm won't necessarily pick up yet because they've not attracted the level of viewing. But the broadcasters know that they're big and they want to showcase them. But also the sort of the nuggets from the archive that you also want to surface because they're wonderful and they won't necessarily be discovered. Also social proof, so we have trending rail. That really resonates as well. So yeah, it's a mixed model, but we're definitely, the direction of travel will be to bring more personalisation into that mix, but not to entirely swing in one direction or the other.
And so on the personalisation side, that means that my rail could look different to your rail?
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them. I think your last point there is absolutely right, isn't it, Sarah? That I doubt the whole experience will be completely different for everyone, because a big part of what free TV in particular is about are those big moments and the big shows that everyone's talking about, everyone wants to watch, whether live or near live or the next day and so on. And we would expect Freely to reflect that and to draw, to signpost some of that as well. So you'd see, I'm sure you'd have seen, the Traitors final heavily promoted on Freely because that's a big talking point, a big national event, and that's what PSB and UK Free to Air does so well.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, obviously, we are. One of our roles is to ensure that public service broadcasting continues to sort of resonate and get the airtime and the discoverability that it deserves. But obviously, we're working with all of our content partners. So we launched with our 4 public service broadcasters, but we've since added UK TV into the mix, and that's been very welcome and was much demanded by audiences, and also AMC and PBS and others. And so making sure that we're also promoting their content within that mix as well, because it's a broad church that we're appealing to. The whole point of bringing the additional the other content providers on board is to keep that appeal sort of broad and wide. And so we need to make sure that all that content's getting airtime.
Great, good. So for Freely to be successful, the distribution strategy of Freely is kind of key. As you said, I think you said earlier that a third of homes are IP only at the moment, and you think it could go to two-thirds in 10 years, about a quarter.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So you've had tell us about your distribution strategy and some successes you've had. I mean, I specifically saw Amazon more recently, but
yeah,
to hear more.
Yeah, I mean, we launched our launch partners, or our first set of partners were TVs from Hisense and the operating system that they work with, in particular Vida. So we launched with them back in April, but we rapidly rolled out to a number of other manufacturers. Toshiba, Sharp, Panasonic, TCL are all TV brands that you'll find in the shops that are Freely enabled. We did a deal with Xperi, who powers a number of devices with their TiVo operating system, and they also are an early partner for ours. And then, as you mentioned, Amazon Fire TV, who power a number of different manufacturers as well as their own devices. That was a partnership that launched towards the end of last year. So great, really great actually that we've built on a number of great partnerships. Our commercial team have got some well established and good relationships around the great work we've done with Freeview Play with a lot of those guys today. But obviously with Freely, we were bringing a new proposition, and one that involved even closer collaboration than we've had to date. But they were all excited about the opportunity to be there from at the start of the Freely journey and to deliver this really great live TV experience, and have the lovely Freemoji, as we call our Freely our little Freely logo on their packaging and on their devices. So some really good partnerships, and hopefully, there will be more to come.
Yeah, and you sort of talked about it a bit already. The partnership model is a really fantastic way for us to scale really rapidly, and it's also a really fantastic way for us to, again, have a really broad and diverse proposition in the marketplace. So, we know that Freely TVs are being bought for all sorts of different purposes. Some of them are like the big high-end OLED TVs from Panasonic, and people are putting them in their living rooms. That's fantastic. But they're also being bought, smaller versions are being bought for student digs or for kitchens or bedrooms, and all those places in your house where you don't have an aerial. So there's a whole load of different use cases, and through this partnership model, we're able to address many of them, as well as obviously achieve the sort of scale that you get by getting to market quickly with lots of partners. So,
and do you have a number you can share with us? How many devices do you reckon are freely enabled in the market at the moment?
Don't think we can share a number at this stage.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to be able to, I mean, obviously we would love to be able to share numbers, because we're very happy with them. But I think
it must be a good few million, I would have thought. But anyway,
it's been really good momentum, and growth is pleasing, and we're really happy with where we've got to.
Yeah. Exactly.
No numbers, so sorry.
And on that distribution side, we're going to see Freely on LG and Samsung in the near future.
Well, we're in conversation with those guys, as we are with everyone, including so all manufacturers, whether they are currently Freely partners or not. And let's see. I mean, we have, as I said, we have great relationships with everyone, whether they are currently partners or not, and talking about how we can make things happen. So we hope so. But we're really happy with the breadth of the market that we've managed to achieve with the partnerships that we've got. Really covering a number of a large chunk of new devices being sold, and as Sarah said, excitingly, it was lots of different price points and kind of different sectors of the market. So a good start already.
Yeah, and the way we've developed Freely as a sort of an operator app based on HbbTV standards, it makes it very, very scalable. It works on every new smart TV, and it provides that consistent TV experience to everybody. So it means that whoever we're partnering with, all manufacturers can get access to all the new features at the same time, and it's technology that they're all used to working with. So we've developed in such a way that is very collaborative and very sort of compatible with the partnership model. So we're optimistic that there'll be more to talk about in future.
Fantastic. So linear TV is a core element of Freely, clearly, and how do you see the importance of linear TV to audiences at the moment, and how do you see that evolving?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked at length, obviously, about the centrality of linear to the Freely experience, alongside the aggregation of the great on-demand content. And so, from our perspective, we are very focused on both of those things as we develop Freely, because we really want this is a mass market product that for everybody, no matter how they want to consume TV, we want them to consume great free UK content in whatever way is most convenient to them, clearly. But linear remains important and valuable. I mean, I've already mentioned the traitors. It is clearly right now the go-to thing that we all point to in our space.
Obsessed with the traitors,
particularly Sarah and I.
And everyone else.
Absolutely, but it is a great example of what linear television does particularly well, bringing those moments together people want to watch at the same time, or as near as they possibly can, because they don't want spoilers. And clearly, live sport is the epitome of that, and remains something that attracts huge audiences of free-to-air content. But actually, as well as the traitors, we also had, the biggest Christmas day for, 20 years or something like that? Maybe not that long, but BBC One had such a stellar Christmas day with Gavin and Stacey and Wallace and Gromit. Those big moments, the kind of numbers that some people were saying we'll never see those on linear TV again. But then you're seeing 15, 16, 17 million audiences, and of course they are. Over the long run, fewer people are watching things at the same time, but that's because of the great innovations and the plethora of opportunity to watch things in different ways and at different times.
Sure, that's I guess because you don't have to these days.
Yeah, you don't have to, but it doesn't mean that people don't want to. And I think what we're keen to make sure with Freely is that we're not is that the opportunity to do that if you want to is there and remains there. I mean, that I think Sarah may have mentioned this already, but it is worth reiterating. That quarter of the audience who don't have a traditional broadcast connection at home, it's not because they're not interested in live TV. It's because for whatever reason it's just more convenient not to. They want to move the TV to another part of the home, or the aerial doesn't work, or they move somewhere that doesn't have one. Well, that doesn't mean, therefore, we should go, oh, well, no EPG for you, no easy way of accessing live TV. We want to make sure that opportunity is there. And what we're already seeing is that actually people do want to watch it when it's there. And so all of the feature developments and all the product stuff that we're thinking about is making sure that however you want to watch this content, it's available. And live is also, I always use this phrase a lot, live is a great shop window for on demand. There are many shows that are huge and on demand, but they're huge because the moment of them being scheduled around a live broadcast, even if the numbers who watch it are more modest than they used to be, those are the things that get still the tentpole moments that get people aware of them. Mr. Bates and the Best of the Post Office on ITV last year was a huge show. A lot of that was on ITVX, and people wanted to watch that because they heard about it. But they heard about it because it was a tentpole linear part of a linear show, and a lot of people watched it in that way. And so the model is still relevant, even if the numbers are smaller. And that's how people watch stuff is changing. But across sports and entertainment, there are really big things. Eurovision being the other great example I always like to use because it's something close to my heart. But 8-9 million people are still watching that live, and want to share those moments with people. And there's those across the year as well on all parts of the free-to-air landscape.
Yeah, I mean, all I would add to that is that we even see the streamers like Netflix commissioning live TV content now. So there was, whilst people's lives are changing and audience are moving towards streaming, there is no doubt that live TV still has.
Live TV is not being abandoned, is it?
Not at all. No. And I think the role that the UK broadcasters play in that is that they create this amazing sort of locally relevant content that really resonates with UK audiences, and creates those shared moments that, we do still love when they happen. And again, Freely's role is to ensure that continues to be possible, and to keep supporting and enabling that for audiences. The
Freely app is built around the fact you've got a browse screen and a TV guide screen. It's sort of almost two sides of the coin, but both easily accessible and access within the app, a guide button that takes you directly to the guide, a Freely button that takes you directly to browse. So you can be super on demand focused, and there's something there for you for Freely. You can be a real live first. But I mean, anyway, Sarah and I'm quite traditional, and I tend to be the whole hierarchy thing where I go live first and then look on demand later. Well, I mean, Sarah's much more on demand centric kind of person.
Yeah, I've definitely been a sort of VOD viewer. I mean, I was part of the team that launched 4OD at Channel 4 back in the day, so I think I have been a video on demand viewer for a long time. But I also, I know me and the kids were all literally waiting for 9 o'clock to arrive to watch Traitors live when it was on. It's not. It's definitely not sort of black or white, but it's quite nice that between the two of us we definitely represent
the core base is covered.
The coin.
Another reason for the joint role.
There's an occasional arm wrestle over what should take priority on the roadmap, but we usually manage to reach something.
Excellent. Well, I guess I've mentioned AI. We haven't mentioned FAST yet, and it'd be remiss of me not to mention it, because it's a development in linear TV, really, isn't it? A free linear TV, and that's again at the core of Freely. So, what are your plans with FAST? Where do you see that fitting into your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a well-worn joke internally, but I always like to make it anyway, which is as somebody who's worked here for a while, been at broadcasters for quite a long time in Channel 4, UK TV, and elsewhere. Whenever over the last 5 years or so, people have been on panels or standing up, talking about the revolution of FAST. There's this new thing people want to sit back and put a TV on and see what's presented for them. I'm like, guys, we've been doing that for 70 years, and actually we're doing it pretty well, and we're not surprised to hear that people quite like that. But so from my perspective, certainly, hearing that all that over the last few years of the development of FAST is like, yeah, of course, because sometimes people love a lean back experience, not just for the event TV that we've just been talking about actually, but because sometimes you just want to have stuff created and presented to you. So Fast has been really interesting in that respect. And actually, to the point about how we think about things, obviously we're thinking about just on getting channels on board, and we're input agnostic in that sense, because obviously we're making sure that the TV still works for you well if you've got an aerial plugged in, but if you don't, we're making sure that you've got all those channels you expect to be there delivered over the internet, delivered over IP. So sort of this question of, well, what is a fast channel versus just a channel that's delivered over IP? And I've often tried not to use the term fast internally, because I'm like, it's just IP delivered television. It's what's always there. Our focus with Freely to date and has been about ensuring we can onboard more and more content partners, who principally those the big UK free-to-air broadcasters, those who have channels currently on Freeview, on DCT and elsewhere, and that's still the journey that we're on right at this moment. But clearly, we're an IP-based TV service, and the model is there for services over time that could come on that don't necessarily have a broadcast equivalent, as it were. But it's an interesting question: is it what makes a channel a fast channel versus a non-fast channel? Is it regulation? Sure, is it quality? Is it content?
I think it's how some of them categorize themselves as well.
Yeah,
and I agree with you. You can slot them into different categories, but I guess their existence came because of the fast revolution. Hence, they're known as fast channels.
Yeah. What I think is, you could, depending on which report you read on and which day of the week, different commentators argue that fast is, seeing an acceleration, and others argue that it's might be seeing a bit of a dip. I think that there's probably a bit of a trend towards sort of more premium content again, and again, that's the sort of area that, from Freely's perspective, that's where we want to kind of be operating, which is sort of making high quality premium free TV, and sort of representing and bringing that to audiences, whether that's using the term fast or not is not particularly
right. So it's not necessarily a volume play for you guys.
I think it's a premium play, probably first and foremost. But as Carl said, actually, at this stage, what it is a kind of platform play. We're developing. We've got the capabilities, and the possibilities are kind of endless as to how we evolve Freely. So we're open-minded at this
stage. So switching tack a little bit, I've heard some other territories interested in the Freely model and coming to talk to you guys about that. How do you see? Are you being asked to advise? Are you just sharing knowledge? Do you think it's going to be a model that's going to be adopted in other territories?
I mean, you're right. There definitely is interest. I think. We're lucky, obviously, in the UK. We've got this long-standing history of collaboration between broadcasters, and that's that really underpins what we've been able to do with Freely. And we've obviously also got fantastic creative talent and amazing content. I think the proposition definitely resonates with many other broadcasters in other territories. And also, I think it's that we have been sharing our learnings a lot with other international broadcasters, France and Germany, Japan, Greece, I think, Australia. Like there's a widespread interest. I think the challenge that we set out to address with Freely very much resonates with in other territories, and also I think the approach that we've taken to meet that challenge is something that definitely appeals. How we take that forward.
Yeah, but everyone's loads of markets are wrestling with the same challenges, as Sarah says, and the desire to how can you ensure that local national broadcasters, local content remains easily accessible and prominent on devices. How do you serve IP only homes and ensure that you can take some of the paradigms that maybe took for granted in a broadcast world of EPGs and remote control buttons continue in an IP world and so on. So as what we're tackling, we're attempting to address with Freely is not unique to the UK. But we're fortunate that what the UK PSBs did 20 plus years ago with Freeview and with FreeSat and other joint ventures means that there's been this vehicle with which we could get that innovation up and running successfully here. So we, as Sarah says, advise if people ask us about it, and we really watch with interest. And of course, it's just nice to know that people are interested in what you're doing as well. It was great to see the French regulator Arcom specifically mention Freely as an example of the collaboration they'd love to see in the French market. Interesting to see what happens across different parts of the world.
It's definitely, I mean, I'm probably just going to repeat what Carl said, but we're definitely, we're really happy to share our expertise, and we're supportive of like the collaborative model that we've got here being replicated elsewhere. But I guess it's worth also saying that our focus is very much on the UK market. Like Freely is built for the UK market on behalf of the 4 public service broadcasters and other free TV providers, and that's really what we're here to do, and that's what we're focused on doing.
Yeah. So that's what you're doing today. What's next for Everyone TV?
Well, what's next, I guess, is a lot of stuff we've alluded to actually over the course of the chat. So more content providers who we're busy in conversations with, lots of great dialogue about that, and we hope there'll be some more announcements about that soon. More distribution partners, more manufacturers, operating systems, and so on, so that we can get into more. Just more of the market is Freely enabled. We really want Freely to be a kite mark that you can see in as many places as possible, so that people know when they're buying a new TV, you see Freely and you go, great, my TV is going to work however I connect. It's probably future-proof, and I still get that great traditional TV experience that I'm familiar with, and a bit better than that, in fact, because for the third thing that we're doing is obviously innovating on the product front. And I think our themes from that perspective, as well as you can imagine, particularly in this, I say early stages, it's only a year, it's not even a year yet. So we are still looking at continuing to tighten all the nuts and bolts around better performance, make sure everything works really well, which it does already, but there's always more to do. But I think the 3 themes, we talked about personalisation and personalising content discovery. So that's a big sort of theme for Sarah and I, and on the product front. Enhancing linear TV, looking at ways we can continue to make linear TV feel special for like a convenient and enjoyable experience. And we're thinking about some things in that respect. And the third of our headline strands is accelerating accessibility. How can we really set Freely as a gold standard for a service that everybody can use and use easily? So we've already got good form as Everyone TV in that respect. We launched for Freeview, we launched an accessible EPG, which has text-to-speech, high contrast, and lots of other great features. We did that a couple of years ago, which was been really well used, and we then adapted that for Freely. So that's been there from day one, and now we're looking at how we bring as many of those features across the Freely UI as we can. I'm working with a lot of industry bodies to kind of make sure we can deliver on best practice and do that swiftly. Because if we want Freely to be the mass market product that everyone buys, it's in everyone's home and everyone uses as the kind of standard free TV experience, however they connect, that needs to work for every group in the UK. So those are our 3 strands. There's a lot of ambition and a lot that we hope we'll be able to get done as swiftly as possible. But
I think what's been brilliant, and particularly brilliant as at the helm of product, is that we built Freely as an operator app. It's our software sitting on our partners' televisions, and that means that we can continue to improve it in life. And that wasn't that's a slightly different model to the one that we have with Freeview Play. And it means that, it's just going to keep getting better and better. We can deploy improvements, new features, functionality, UX changes. That can all happen. So everyone's Freely TV will keep getting better and better as we deploy some of the areas that Carl's just talked to. And that's super exciting.
Well, Sarah, Carl, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and insight with Freely, and look forward to seeing the progress you make over the coming months.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jonathan. It's been really great to talk, and look forward to coming back, and we'll let you know how it's going in due course.
Brilliant, definitely.
Thank you.
Good, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Inside Content, the TV industry podcast brought to you by 3Vision. With decades of TV industry experience and real-world success, we know the ins and outs of the market like nobody else. To learn more about our TV consultancy services, head to 3vision.tv.